So 2021 garnered us a bunch of brand new releases, lots of designer releases, and a ton of niche releases. Now, a lot of the designer releases, they got their 15 minutes of fame, but there's a lot of niche releases that kind of got scooped under the rug. So today, I've got 10 niche fragrances that were all new releases as of last year that nobody ever talked about, that kind of got forgotten. But I'm here to give them some limelight because they're fragrances that you definitely should know about. And they are totally worth a whiff and sniff. So stay tuned. Cue that intro. What's going on, my beautiful fragrance family? Hope each and every one of you are doing freaking great today. Welcome back to My2Scents. My name is Brian, and this is the channel all about helping boost your confidence through the art of fragrance and helping you become a lasting scent memory. All right, yeah, so 2021, man, we got so many awesome releases. Seems like every brand, whether it be niche or designer, they were pumping out some awesome new releases. Some not so awesome, some freaking crazy good, crazy amazing. But there's a lot of fragrances that got missed. A lot. Though I will say a lot of these houses are smaller. They're niche houses. They're smaller. They don't really get the love that they deserve. But I'll tell you what, they're pumping out some incredible juice. Let me know in the comments, like, what are some of the 2021 releases that you love that nobody talked about? Well, hopefully some of those are going to be in this list. But I'm curious to know what some of your favorites are, whether it be designer or niche, that kind of just got swept under the rug, that nobody's talking about, but you think are freaking amazing. So what fragrances made this list? Well, let's find out in today's Whiffs and Sniffs. All right, we're going to start out with one that popped up right at pretty much at the end of 2021, and it's coming from Jeroboam, and it's Floro. Now, this fragrance is very white floral forward. It's very heavy in white florals, jasmine being the most predominant one. But it also has this really nice juicy pineapple up top. I think it's pineapple and a little bit of citrus as well. My favorite part about this fragrance is the musks. You know, if you've been following this channel, you know how much I love Jeroboam musks. They're sexy, they're intoxicating, very alluring and sultry. They are the perfect balance between light and dark musks. And what those musks really do in Jeroboam fragrances is they amplify the sillage, make it a little bit more alluring. You're also going to get some vetiver, some sandalwood, and some creamy aspects as it starts fully drying down. Now, this is a beautiful fragrance, $120 for a 30 ml. Yeah, it's a little expensive, but a little goes a long way. That goes for every Jeroboam fragrance that I've tried. I haven't tried them all, but Floro is definitely worth a whiff and sniff. You can go over to Lucky Scent. In fact, all these fragrances I got from Lucky Scent. They all... There's a hair in my mouth. Anyways, you can go over to Lucky Scent. You can get yourself a dabber. I know dabbers suck, but what I do is I put them in a little atomizer, and that dabber doesn't suck so much anymore. If you like unisex, white floral heavy fragrances that have a nice fruity opening and beautiful musks, definitely check out Jeroboam Floro. Next up on the docket comes from Rogue Perfumery, and it's Vetiver. Now, I think that Rogue Perfumery actually is completely underrated. This is an amazing fragrance house. Manuel Cross is an incredible perfumer. He's actually a mastermind, in my opinion. He takes that classic style fragrance DNA and he modernizes it, but he keeps it so classy. He keeps it so dapper. Vetiver is a beautiful vetiver fragrance, but you're also going to get beautiful florals. I get a beautiful rose, you get some iris, but it pops off with bergamot. That bergamot just sticks around for a little bit. And then you get into the oak moss, the rose, the iris, the vetiver. I mean, the musks in this as well are incredible. This is one that I like to spray on my clothes because I get really good lasting power. It does stick to my skin too, but I get about 6 hours of longevity on my skin. On my clothes, I get that 8-hour mark. As it fully dries down, you get into these nice ambery woods. Vetiver is an incredible 2021 release. You definitely need to get your nose on it. Like I said, you can go to Lucky Scent, get yourself a dabber, transfer that into an atomizer, and give this bad boy a test drive. 100% unisex. I think this is the perfect balance between male and female. I think it leans a little bit more masculine, but that's just in my opinion. If you're a fan of vetiver fragrances that have a nice, floral characteristics, a really nice amber and a beautiful woody base, definitely check out Rogue Perfumery Vetiver. Next up comes from the house of Centauri, and it is Homme. Peter, who is, I think it's the Fragrance View, who is also a fragrance reviewer on YouTube, is a really amazing, first of all, reviewer. Second of all, makes really good fragrances. Centauri, this is the first one I've actually purchased. I've sampled quite a few others, and I'm gonna be diving further into the house this year. But Homme, nobody talks about, except Peter on his own channel. Homme is an awesome oud fragrance. Now this is a nice warm spicy oud. You're gonna get Thai oud. I mean, the note breakdown on this is freaking ridiculous. The notes that really stick out to me are gonna be Thai oud, smoke, frankincense, lavender, some balsams, musks, and ambergris. But the note breakdown on this is ginormous. This is an awesome fragrance. If you like comforting oud fragrances, more on that Middle Eastern style that have a little bit more of a dry side to them, but also warm up and get quite resinous as it starts drying down, Homme would be perfect for you. Now again, this is really expensive. $210 for a 30 ml. High quality presentation, but if you have the money for it, it's definitely worth a whiff and sniff. You can get samples from Centauri. You can also get a discovery set. I think Homme is a great release. I think it's a great addition to 2021, and now going into 2022, I think this is a fantastic fragrance. It's not an oud rose fragrance. It's got that lavender in there. It has that nice smoke and frankincense, and the musks are done brilliantly. Now he's using synthetic musks in this, but there's deer musks and I think also civet. If you're interested, I will leave a link down below where you can get some samples of this. You can also go to Lucky Scent and get yourself a dabber. But Centauri Homme is definitely, in my opinion, worth a whiff and sniff. Next up comes from the house of Danae. And there's not much to look at for this bottle. I mean, it's pretty standard. And this is Tazumi Boshi. Now, Tazumi Boshi, the name of this fragrance, is actually named after a drum or a music festival, one of the two. Or it's a drum that's used at a music festival. But this is a Japanese brand that uses a lot of natural ingredients, and it totally shows. Now, I think this is like $130 for 33 mLs. Again, quite expensive, but man, a little goes a long way, and the quality of this juice is incredible. Lemon, cardamom, pine, geranium, rosewood, and oud. This is a beautiful green fragrance. I mean, God, the lemon in it is so photorealistic. And the pine in it, whew, man, it is giving it this beautiful pininess, this beautiful coniferous green quality, mixed with that geranium to add a nice watery, almost mintiness to it, almost a rosy quality to it as well. The cardamom in it adds this really nice green sweetness. You get a tinge of spice from it, but man, this is an all-around banger. This is gonna be killer in the spring and summer. Now, they make some very, very expensive fragrances. This is definitely on the lower tier. This is a lot cheaper. But like I always say, get yourself a sample, test drive it, and see for yourself. Tazumi Boshi, totally worth a whiff and sniff. Next up on the docket comes from the house of Collage and is the Last pH 85. Now, the Last Pure Heart 85. This was not exactly what I was expecting from this fragrance. When you hear a fragrance called the Last Pure Heart, you expect to be clean and kind of invigorating and loving, but that's not what this fragrance is. What this fragrance is dark and rich and brooding. You start out with this blood orange, black currant, and some spices. Oh man, and I love how the blood orange is done in this. It's thick, added to that almost sweet, little smoky black currant. And then the leather rolls in, and it just pummels his way in, and it is a brooding vintage leather. Beautifully done though. You get some nice floral characteristics from some jasmine. And the jasmine in this is not the predominant note because tobacco also comes in, and the tobacco kind of overshadows the jasmine, but they're blended together very well. This dries down nice and warm and dense with those nice musks. You get that beautiful woodiness coming from, I believe, cedar, a little bit of sandalwood. This is a great creation coming out of Romania. $160, I think, for a 50 ml, which in my opinion, I think is totally worth it. You can also get yourself samples, but the Last pH definitely does not need to be under the radar. It needs to be on your radar. Because, I mean, I think this entire house, I've got a couple other samples, and they're freaking awesome. Whatever you're doing over there in Romania, keep it up, Collage. But if you like tobacco, you like leather, and you like rich, warm, spicy fragrances, check out Collage, the Last pH 85. So I'm not really sure why this next one hasn't seen, and gotten much love. It's a fantastic fragrance. For all the Raja Dove fans out there, for the Fragrance du Bois fans, for the Zaharoffs, for your Amouage. And I'm talking about Parfums MDCI, and this is La Elegant. Released in 2021, at the beginning of 2021. That's when I got my bottle. Man, this is exactly like it sounds. It's elegant. There's this really nice incense in here. It's almost like a sweet incense. It's not like churchy whatsoever. It's just perfectly balanced in this fragrance. You're also going to get cardamom, some more spices, and these are very clean spices. The cardamom in this is very refreshing, though it adds a nice underlying sweetness. But one of my favorite parts about it is the orris. The orris in this is a beautifully done iris or orris. I mean, it is a little powdery, but it is more on this just really thick, creamy, sweet orris. And that is done so well with this really nice leather and honey. So you get this nice honeyed leather, and then musks and some woods. I mean, this is awesome. This is a suit and tie. This is a formal event. This is not going to be dressed up casually. Should never be dressed up casually, because this is class in a glass. This is phenomenal. $250 gets you a 75 ml. I put this on the same kind of quality as Raja Fragrance du Bois, and this is completely slept on. If you can find yourself a sample or a decant, I'd highly suggest checking out Parfums MDCI La Elegant. So this next one is coming out of India, and it is Dixit and Zac, and it's Emperor's Court. Now, Emperor's Court, man, I mean, I've talked about this a few times. Now, this is going to be expensive. $250, I think it's $250, maybe $215, somewhere around there for a 30 ml. In my opinion, it's worth it. If you don't have the fundage for it, totally understand. Get yourself a sample, maybe save your money for it, but Emperor's Court is awesome. You're looking at like 4 different types of oud: Indian, Cambodian, Thai, and Lao. But Emperor's Court is much more than just the oud. There's some bergamot up top to start everything off. Then you're getting into some really nice rose. And this is a nice, I believe to be a rose absolute, because it's a very earthy, natural smelling rose. You get some really nice beefy jasmine in this as well. And then Indian spices. So this is going to be more like cumin, coriander, clove. Emperor's Court, fantastic fragrance. Again, expensive. But if you like really natural smelling oud fragrances, Dixit and Zac, I know make a lot. Now, this is the only one that I have from Dixit and Zac, but I look forward to diving further into this house because, you know what, this is a true work of art, honestly. Great longevity, decent sillage on this, but this is a fragrance that I love wearing for myself. Get yourself a sample of Dixit and Zac, Emperor's Court. Next up comes from the house of Gallivant, and it's Naples. I'm very surprised that nobody is really talking about this fragrance. Gallivant makes awesome fragrances. And the one thing that I've found with Gallivant, they do incense really, 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 really well. But what I love about the incense in this is a spicy incense aquatic. So this actually reminds me a little bit of like being transported to Naples with a cool sea breeze like blowing in my face. This is awesome. It's got a nice salinity to it. It has that beautiful olibanum and incense, but there's some nice resinous qualities to this as well. And you're getting some beautiful woods as it dries down, but think like sandalwood, more like driftwood, cedar. Naples is a great fragrance, $90 for a 30 ml. This is a great versatile kind of all year round type of fragrance because it's fresh, like super fresh up top, and then it warms up. I think this is awesome. Again, nobody's talking about. But if you're looking for an interesting aquatic fragrance and you like incense, then Naples could definitely be in your wheelhouse. So definitely check out Gallivant, Naples. Last but not least, this is probably the most challenging fragrance that I have on this list. And it's come from the house of Papillon. And it's Spell 125. I don't know if you guys could see that. It's kind of dark. All right, so this reminds me of a tomb. It's very musty. It's quite damp. It is a lot of incense. And this is going to be very church-like frankincense and incense. But you also have some really nice green qualities. You have this thick pininess in it coming from pine. And just like Gallivant, Papillon also utilizes and makes a really, really nice incense accord. There's also some ylang-ylang in here. I don't pick up really on the ylang-ylang. It has a little bit of like a yellow floral characteristic to it, but this thing is so thick with like green, pininess, incense, and then there's a nice hemlock that's adding to like this dry quality to it as well, almost adding a nice spiciness to it. But then there's a nice sandalwood, and the sandalwood in this isn't creamy, it's more on the dry side. And then ambergris. Now the ambergris I love in this. It adds this nice underlying sweetness and kind of just rounds out everything and doesn't allow it to become overwhelming. Spell 125 is for those of you who enjoy more challenging fragrances, who enjoy the art, the creativity that goes into fragrances. This is not something I would wear all the time. This is something that I would wear. I don't actually know when I would wear it. I think it's a beautifully blended fragrance, and I think it's really good, but it's very challenging. So if you enjoy a good challenge, definitely get your nose on Papillon, spell 125. All right, there it is, guys. There are 10 fragrances that you probably don't know about. You've probably never heard about. You might have never heard of the houses, but now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Let me know some fragrances down below that you think I should get my nose on, that aren't really ever talked about, that you think deserve more love, because that's what this channel is all about. That's what I'm all about, is bringing forth fragrances that are unique, that help set you apart, and that help boost your confidence. That's the most important part. But that is it for me today, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. If you enjoyed today's episode, then do me a favor and like, comment, share, and subscribe. And always remember, you are stinking beautiful. And until next time, happy scent trails.